Hey guys, Phill from Drop Gun, coming at you from a secret location that looks a lot like my garage. So we're talking painting your rifle today. Everyone's got their own preferred method. We've got one that we think is really simple, and we're going to walk you through a step-by-step video on how to do it. So really the first question is probably, why paint your rifle in the first place? Well, there's a lot of reasons for it. It changes the aesthetics of the rifle, but it's also very, very functional. You'll see a lot of folks out there, they'll spend a lot of money and a lot of energy buying camouflage clothing and matching equipment and doing their best to really blend in with their environment. But one of the areas that people often forget is their personal firearm. So you do a great job of concealing your body and your outline and all of your equipment, and then you have a giant blob of the most unnatural color in your firearm. Typically they're black. You know, there are a variety of methods for camouflaging your firearm out there. From simple rattle can, which, don't get me wrong, does not hurt. It's a great product. It's very inexpensive. It's very cheap. In fact, the method we showed today, you can use with some rattle cans. So just spray paint from the hobby store or from the hardware store. You can pick it up, make sure you get the flat colors. They even make special camouflage paints now. Would work equally well with this method. There's also other products out there, everything ranging from hydro dipping all the way through to Cerakote, Duracoat, which is the product we're going to use in this project. So let's talk a little bit about the products we're using in this project. I chose to use Duracoat. Now what Duracoat essentially is a two-part epoxy. There's a paint base that you add a hardener to. It's an air cure, so there's no need to bake it. There's no oven, which makes it a little bit easier for hobbyists to use at home and to apply very, very simply with little equipment. And you don't need some crazy professional skill level to do it. You just need to take your time, be very, very careful about what you're doing, and we'll talk about those preparation steps here in a little bit. We're going to need an airbrush. Duracoat does make a aerosol spray product that you can use. It's a little bit more expensive, and you have a limited amount of time to use that because you're activating the hardener within the can, and then you have to use it at one shot. The actual Duracoat itself, the Duracoat comes in a variety of sizes. Again, the paint base, with every color you get a small bottle of hardener. So you can apply that hardener in a ratio depending on what you want to accomplish with that Duracoat. So the next couple things that I have here, we have some supplies to prepare. We have Duracoat's True Strip, so a good cleaner degreaser. Having the firearm completely degreased and absolutely clean as possible is key to good adhesion of that product. So we have a couple different things. We have some Scotch-Brite pads, flying all over the place. Scotch-Brite pads with the Duracoat. We're going to show that cleaning step. It's super important. We have masking. We have some different masking tapes and masking items. I like to use old laundry bags, and I'm going to show in the pattern. Again, a very, very simple process. It's only a few steps to achieve a really cool effect that creates depth and variety, and also works and plays on proper camouflage concepts. So really about the only simple products you have. Again, you can do this exact same method if you take all of the Duracoat and the compressor and everything out and you just replace that with spray paint. This method will work equally well utilizing that medium. Okay, so I've got my rifle here in the vise. Normally what I like to do is decide if I'm going to paint the rifle in one piece or in multiple pieces. I'm only going to break this rifle into two pieces. What I'm going to do is take the handguard off. Now all of my accessories that I intend to put in this rifle are already mounted. If I'm going to do a camouflage job, I like to get my optic, my light, all of my accessories already on the rifle so that they all match. I'm weird like that. I get it that it doesn't matter anything for the camouflage and you can mix and match and it really wouldn't hurt it. I just like it to look consistent and even. So the only disassembly I'm going to do this before we begin the cleaning and then the masking step is I'm going to take the handguard with all the accessories off. That's going to allow me to paint the base coat onto the barrel underneath the handguard as well as the entire rifle. I will then reassemble the rifle into a complete single unit prior to continuing to the next step. So here we go, let's check it out, disassembly. So as you can see, we've got the rifle broken down into two components that we're going to use for the next step, which is going to be degrease and clean prior to masking off the areas we don't want to paint. So a good little tip here, when I removed that Odin Works handguard, I took all the screws and I put them inside the lid of a spray paint can. I've walked around the shop and I've had to be on my hands and knees with a flashlight or a magnet looking for small parts I've dropped. So I've learned if I take them and drop them into something like this, I can cover this and put it off to the side and I'm safe. Okay, we've got the rifle broken down in a couple major components. We're getting ready for the most critical step of the process, and that is the degreasing. You can see what I have here. I've taken just some old like chafing dish, the little warm them up at holiday time kind of dishes. And I just do that to protect other surfaces from the degreaser. But we're gonna work and we're gonna scrub in and degrease and clean the entire surface. We're gonna use some Scotch-Brite pads to really dig in, and then use kind of a sheeting action with the high pressure degreaser. So we're gonna get started here and clean and degrease this rifle. Okay, you're gonna want to use some particular caution whenever you're degreasing around your optic. You want to avoid getting any of the degreaser onto the lenses before they're masked off. No reason to mask anything off before you degrease, because the degreaser cleaner would just rip all that masking off, and you wouldn't be able to mask off what you need to anyway. So I'm going to use some particular caution around the optic. I'm not going to saturate quite as deeply as I do in some of the other areas, particularly around my turrets and also here. So I'd accept a little bit of paint coming off. You're going to see with this style paint job that we do, it doesn't have to be perfect, that there is some room, and we're actually going to distress the finish a little bit to create a camouflage effect. So it's not that vital that the paint adheres strictly and absolutely everywhere. So we're going to use some caution around the optic. Now we're going to repeat the same steps with the 4-end assembly. Have it. Final masking has been complete. See, we messed up the optic. Muzzle device. The first step, now that we have the rifle masked up and hung from some wires in the ceiling, is to apply the base coat. I'm using the Tactical Flat Dark Earth from Lauer Weapons in the Duracoat. I'm going to apply that with an airbrush mixed at 12 parts of paint to 1 part of hardener. I'm going to apply an even, thin coat to all parts of the rifle, including the barrel. Working the base coat in from multiple directions, ensuring that you spray from all sides across all parts, underneath and from both sides to ensure adequate and complete coverage. I'm working the base coat in to the rail, the optics, and everything else from all sides, extended and folded, as well as the sights flipped up and the stock fully out. The next step after applying the base coat is to come back in. After letting the Duracoat cure for about 1 hour, I'll come back in with sandpaper, Scotch-Brite, and a little bit of the True Strip and begin to distress and weather the rifle. This isn't done to create some battle-worn look or, make me feel better about using this rifle before it ever sees its first day on the range. This is about creating contrast, and also the high points of the rifle are dropping to a darker color with the lower points staying a lighter color. So I'm going to focus on the edges. This helps break up that flat monotone look of the single base color of the flat dark earth. The black undercolor, I want to work in with the sandpaper lightly on the edges and the high spots. Begin to create some contrast, and it does give it a battle-worn look, but the real reason is to give 2 colors out of a single application of 1 color. When you're doing this, you've got to use particular care not to rub all the way down to bare metal. I'm not looking to expose bare metal, and you'll see I'll come back later on and I'll touch up a couple bare metal spots with an additional coat of really light, dusted, flat dark earth before we move on to the next step, the camouflaging portion. The third step of my process involves coming in with a second color that contrasts the first. In this case, I'm using Duracoat's Tactical Olive Drab. It's a dark green, and I actually add a couple of drops of black to drop the tone of that color just a little bit further. So I'm going to come in with this color and focus primarily from the top down of the rifle. If you think about camouflage, I want the higher points of the rifle to be a darker color and the under parts and the lower parts of the rifle to maintain that lower. So you see we're going to be bringing in the mesh laundry bags, and we're going to be laying them over and independently wrapping them. There's a couple different things that you can do with these mesh laundry bags depending on how tight. If you pull them tight to the surface and spray, you get a very distinct pattern. If you leave them looser, you'll get a much softer, broader pattern. So I'll alternate areas of tight and loose and create additional layers. This is all about creating layers and the appearance of shadows across the entire rifle. Once I've completed moving across the entire rifle with the laundry bags, I'll go ahead and come back in with that same olive drab color, and I'll darken the top side of the rifle just lightly. I'll begin to work in some independent shadow areas and stripes and continue to build contrast in any area of the rifle that I think looks too flat. The goal again is to create three-dimensional appearance and soft, non-defined edges. So I'm working back in now with that flat, working into the flat dark earth with my olive drab and just lowering the tone on the top of my rifle. And there you have it, that's it. It's 2 steps. Remember all the way back to the beginning I told you, you can do the exact same thing with rattle can. This can be some of the flat camouflage style paints you see available at any of the large home improvement stores. Krylon makes a specific camouflage line that I've had great success with. This is the Duracoat product. So we're going to go ahead and let this rifle cure now for really a couple weeks till it reaches maximum hardness. And that should give us a good durable paint finish. So there you have it, 2 colors and a couple of hours worth of work, and you've got a really great looking, properly camouflaged rifle ready for your purposes.